Hello, lovely people of the internet. Tis I, Ophelia Hartwig, aka Savage Minnow, aka Red Person. Um, Hope everyone is doing well today. I'm gonna start with some quick announcements. As you can see, I do have items from the merch store that are coming in. These are new merch items, um, although they are quickly leaving because I'm actually going to be doing a little bit of a channel rebranding on YouTube. I just want to switch the channel name to my actual gamer tag, which is Savage Minnow. I feel like it's a little bit less confusing that way. Um, I've got, you know, just a little bit less names to deal with. Anyway, um, so also on these, all the Pumpkin Gate merch. So the ones with the actual pumpkin, it does have the YouTube name Red Person on it. And these are all going to be changing to, again, it's going to say Savage Minnow instead of Red Person, but also it's going to be changing to the city of Austin instead of the city of Dallas. Um, you may know why that is, and you may not. If you are a little bit confused on that, I would say stay tuned when I do the channel rebranding. The first video or videos that I'm going to be doing um, are is slash R a video on basically going a little bit deeper into Pumpkin Gate and the whole non sequitur show and all of that stuff. So stay tuned for that. I have been doing basically a lot of research surrounding it, and I like did not realize how much of a rabbit hole I was stepping into. It's actually not a rabbit hole. I think it's like more of a rabbit burrow that has like all of these branches and everything else. Um, so I'm going to be talking about the non sequitur show, Kyle and Steve. I'm also going to be talking about, of course, how Jimmy Snow, Mr. Atheist, ties into all of that. There's also someone who's been convicted of assault of a nature that I'm not going to directly go into. Um, but yeah, if you want to see how all that ties together, there's also Katie Joy Paulson from Without a Crystal Ball also ties into this. Um, and so many other people, so many other people. So I think I might end up doing it as a two-part series because I realize when I'm doing all of this research, I'm gonna piss everyone off. Like that's what's gonna happen when I bust this pumpkin open. I'm gonna piss everyone off. And I'm waiting for it from both sides. I think I might do it in a two parts so that I like piss half of the people off and then y'all can come back later for me to piss off the other half of the people. So as of right now, I'm just gonna keep my mouth a little bit shut on that. Oh, thank you for the follow, for gathers. And I'm not going to be talking about it a whole lot up until then, but yeah, just stay tuned for that. I think probably not next week, but the week after. I might get it in at the end of next week, but I kind of doubt it just because I feel like there's still so much for me to like peel back the layers of the ACA and yeah. But today we're talking about Karens. Specifically this guy. Um, Charon actually is how his name is pronounced. This is a Greek deity um, that some of you guys might be familiar with. He's the ferryman that brings lost souls to the underworld. Now, to be fair, if you did see my thumbnail on YouTube, this might like feel like there's a little bit clickbait because it's about this, but trust me, this Karen does tie in to the other Karen that we've been seeing. Um, and it all ties back together, okay? So, um, you were talking about ALR. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm not doing an ALR stream today. I thought I updated the live notification. My apologies. Today I'm just talking about Karen. Sorry if you guys got a live notification that said otherwise. So there are some ways in which this Charon, ties into Karen's thing. Um, and we're going to be talking about those today. So I want you to like kind of keep your eye out for this uh, kind of some concepts of shifting moral virtues, somebody who kind of is a stickler for the rules and becomes maybe more of a force for evil, and somebody who is maybe like wronged by the system. Okay. That's kind of what we're going to be talking about a little bit. So, as I said earlier, this guy, Charon, is a entity from Greek mythology. He's actually in like the whole timeline of Greek mythology, he predates the gods of Zeus and all of that. So we would say that he's like a pre-god. He's in some ways more powerful than other gods like Zeus in some of the stories, that they actually have to kind of abide by him. They can't get into the underworld without Charon escorting them across the river. Now, um, the mother of Charon is Nyx, who's the goddess of the night. So, and it is spelled out in that story that Charon is her youngest child. Charon grew up with siblings, older siblings, such as Thanatos, the god of death, Moros, the god of doom, Charis, the god of destruction, Mormus, the god of blame, Apate, goddess of deceit, and Eris, goddess of strife. So keeping in mind, those were Charon's older siblings growing up. All right. I think anybody who is a younger sibling understands that, like, sometimes you get a little bit like overlooked and maybe get not necessarily neglected, but get put on the back burner. Right. And I think that Charon's story might have a little bit something to do with that. I don't know. We'll come back to that. So, because of nepotism, because of his parents, um, Charon becomes the ferryman that again brings souls across the river to the underworld. Now the river does change up a little bit depending on mythology. That's not really important. We'll come back to it. But Charon is like what we would consider like a skilled worker here, right? Um, and according to legend, Charon takes a small fee, but it's always a coin that's like not really of much value. It's a small value. So it's a fair fee, right? Um, now, does this like account for inflation? Is this maybe the cost of the fare is like set by the system and it hasn't accounted for inflation? How does that maybe like relate to some workers in our society that might be like skilled workers, but they're still minimum wage workers? Um, yeah, sometimes it like doesn't really feel so good, right? So in the original story, Chiron took the whatever the souls were that had died, took them across to the judges of the dead, and then the judges of the dead would judge where it was that they go, right? If it was into hell or wherever. So later myths say sometimes that he just takes them across the river, or sometimes he just takes them straight to hell. Sometimes he just like takes them across the river, just leaves them on the banks of the underworld, and they have to fend for themselves. Or sometimes, like I said, straight into hell. It depends on like which branch of the mythology that we're looking at. But it may have something to do with a little bit of Charon's history, right? Something that happened in Charon's past. And in my mind, there's the story about Heracles. Now, long story short, Heracles fucked over Charon and got Charon to take him into the underworld, even though he didn't pay his tab. And actually, the person who got in trouble, again, working for the system that's like older than even the gods themselves, right? Charon is the one who got in trouble. And he was forced to drink from the water of the river Styx, which made him lose his voice for 9 years, right? So he's the one who got punished for actually trying to help out a friend. That's really what he was doing in the story. If you look up the story, he tried to help Heracles out. Heracles fucked him over, right? So now Charon has become a stickler for the rules, as some would say, right? So if you don't bring a coin with you when you pass away, then these souls are forced to stay on the banks of the river for 100 years and just walk around, walk along the banks, meander, wander. Um, it's not really clear from the sources that I've read if, like, after 100 years, like, the souls just dissipate and, like, cease to exist into oblivion, or my other thought was, like, maybe you know how, like, in some cultures, they get, like, 2 coins, like, 1 over each eye, whereas in other cultures, it's, like, 1 in the mouth? Seems like the older cultures was 1 in the mouth, and later cultures was 2 in the eye. I'm thinking maybe they were like, "Hey, I'll send you with an extra coin, and in case you see, like, Aunt Sally or whoever on the banks there, you can pay her fare too." I don't know. Just a thought. I'm not sure if Karen would go for that or not, though, because like I said, he's a real stickler for the rules. Now, what did we learn from that? I kind of talked about it a little bit before we got into the whole thing, but the first thing that we talked about was generational trauma, right? So, an inattentive mother, the youngest sibling, like we know from like other families that we've all encountered, the youngest sibling oftentimes tends to have to like scream or yell to like even be heard, especially in a large family, right? I named off like 6 siblings. That was not even half of the siblings that Charon grew up with. Plus, Charon's mom, let's not forget, was the goddess of the night. You think that she was like the most warm and loving of mothers? I don't think so. We learned that poor people have always been the most see, I think you're not wrong here. Because also, Karen gets screwed over when he tried to help a friend, right? So now it like begets this attitude of, oh, I can't help or I'll get in trouble, right? Where else do we see that in our culture, in our modern culture? I see that a lot with parents that they're quick to jump on the phone to like call in the police or whoever that can punish these people, but they're not, like, quick to, like, get on the phone and call the manager and be like, "Oh my gosh, this person gave me such great customer service. I just needed to call and, like, tell you how awesome and wonderful this employee is." Nope, they're not gonna do that. They're not gonna stick their neck out for that. But I think that goes back to the generational trauma because older siblings oftentimes have, like, more immediate needs if it's, like, some type of injury or something like that, something that's dangerous, and so the younger sibling can find that punishment actually gets more attention or getting somebody else punishment, right? If you get somebody else in trouble, you get that immediate attention, and maybe the attention is a little bit focused on the other person, but it's also a little bit focused on you. So it's that youngest sibling and, again, like, getting screwed over. Um, they can tattle on people without really much risk, but if they stick their neck out and try to help people, there's risk involved in that. The other thing that I noticed in Charon's story is that he was not appreciated in his work position. And I think that's another thing that we see with modern day Karens, that maybe they're in a position that wouldn't be considered a position of power, but it's an important job nonetheless. A lot of times it's a skilled job. And they may or may not be like actually appreciated in their job, but they don't feel appreciated, right? And one way that they can feel important is to like hold that little bit of power that they do have over your head. That's again where we see these people who are becoming a real stickler for the rules, right? Well, I can stop you from doing this because of this rule here. And it's oftentimes just their version of the rules. Like, there's certain rules that they would maybe not necessarily make sure that they're, like, strongly enforced, but other rules that, like, they're a real stickler for that one, right? So, here's my conclusion to all of this, and I know this is, like, kind of a silly video, and I was just, like, thinking about it the other day when I was, like, reading about Greek mythology, and it's, like, just silly, but here's kind of the conclusion that I came to. Obviously, godlike entities aren't real, but they are an interesting way to, like, explore certain topics, right? Like that this was just like a fun little like 10-minute exploration. That was just fun to talk about how this Charon is kind of in some ways similar to other Karens in our society, right? But gods and other entities are limited by their mythos. And thus, Charon probably isn't going to change in our lifetime, right? This Charon, not going to change during our lifetime because there's so much mythos and everything that goes along with them. It's going to take a long time for that to change. But Karens, like actual Karens that we refer to in society, what did I put? The Central Park Karen, the water bottle Karen. Um, those are the Karens I put in my thumbnail, right? But these are actual people, and they're usually people with a lot of actual baggage, right? But they can change. And that is really the heart of it, is that, like, they're people and they can change. And I think that as an AFAB person who's white, I can see oftentimes where it is easier to have a Karen type mentality in a lot of situations where you can sort of just disregard everybody else's feelings and it would just be easier. And I want to encourage other AFAB white people to and not even necessarily AFAB people, but like white people in general to like kind of take a step back and realize that like sometimes we can just like blow over a situation and like exactly. Karens can get people killed. And even if they have the best of intentions to just keep everybody in line, it can still be a very dangerous situation for a lot of people. So if you're the kind of person who maybe just like gets up in your feels a little bit, or if you're somebody who has dealt with generational trauma, if you're somebody who feels underappreciated at work, if you're somebody who has any of these traits, if you can like see and identify yourself in any of these traits, I want to encourage you to get some help. And I don't mean that in like a derogatory way, because I think that every person who can afford therapy should be in therapy. I mean that like from the deepest of my soul, okay? Um, but even if you can't afford like therapy, online workbooks and stuff, there's all kinds of like free online resources and stuff. And just like find a way to like deal with that anxiety, anger, fear, whatever it is that's like driving those feelings and deal with it. Because as Bear's Only Friend said, Karens get people killed. Okay. Let's not let our little Karen tendencies turn into like a whole Karen person or a Ken or whoever. Okay. So that's my message for you tonight. Like I said, this is just a quick little short one and a quick little thing that I was thinking about, and I wanted to do a quick little video about it. Um, whilst I'm working on researching and doing a deep dive into the whole Pumpkin Gate saga. So I do want to really quickly do a quick little shameless self promo. If you did enjoy the video, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing if you're watching on YouTube, and clicking the follow button if you're on Twitch. That way you will be notified when I have something new for you to see. I don't normally ask you guys this so much, but I am trying to like branch out and do other types of videos besides just videos about Jimmy Snow and Pumpkin Gate. So if you guys do enjoy this other content, please, if you could hit that like button and just like let the algorithm know that I do other content besides Jimmy Snow content. But thank you, Bear's Only Friend. I appreciate you coming. Even if you were given an ALR notification instead. So I do plan on doing more stuff about ALR in the future. I've just had like some more thoughts and feelings that have been kind of a brewing, but I do want to do maybe another live react on Tuesday. And usually I can just get those straight up. And yeah, thank you guys so much for coming. And I will see you guys in the next one. Today's your birthday. I want to wish you a very happy birthday.